It's hard to answer. I've never been a person who conforms, so I always went against the grain and did what I wasn't supposed to do.
Right.
But I do understand that pressure that you do feel. I just happen to be the person who was in corporate America with braids and shells in my hair, and they just looked at me like I was funny. Right.
I know when I first big chop, that's how I felt. Even when I had relaxed hair and I wore my hair short, I didn't like it. I just didn't like short hair on me. I loved it on other people, it was great, but on myself, I just did not like it. And so when I first big chopped, I was home by myself. I just came home from work one day and was like, I'm done, I'm cutting it off. I looked in the mirror, I hated it. I hated it, and I ran immediately and got some kinky twist extensions put in because I just did not like it. And that was a big mistake. So a few months later, I took those out, and my hair was still short. And even though I hated it, I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't like it, but it's natural. I know this is what I want to do. This is a decision I made. I'm just going to go out, and I just fought the feeling. Some days I would look at my husband and he would look at me and I'm just like, and he's like, baby, look fine. I'm like, But I just fought through it anyway. I just said, eventually it will grow. I just said, instead of focusing on how it looked and how much I didn't like it, I said, let me focus on what do I need to do to it so that I will like it, so that it will grow. How do I take care of it? And so I got into that, and so kind of diverting the attention from so much of how it looked to how to take care of it so it would grow. And then next thing you know, I had all this. And now I'm like, I want to cut my hair off. I'm over it now. So sometimes, even if you feel that way, you just have to, do what you can, try to learn how to make it look how you want it to look, but don't get so caught up in it that you feel defeated. Because you still, especially if you're going on job interviews, you want to exude confidence. And if you don't feel like you're so worried about your hair, it's really going to be hard to exude that confidence. And a lot of times people really aren't really as concerned about your hair as you think they are.
Right.
So
I agree. So if you could give some help with like the simplest steps, the basics.
The first step of my regimen is detangling, finger detangling with coconut oil. How many of you watch my channel? I don't know. Okay. I know you guys are like, we know this already. I finger detangle while it's dirty, like if I were to wash it out right now, with coconut oil and a little bit of water. And then jump in, deep condition it first. That's just what works for me. So you have to try what works, but I deep condition first because I find that my hair holds a lot more moisture. And then I conditioner wash. And then I put in the leave-in and I put in aloe vera on top so that it stays shiny and full. And I let it air dry. And that's it. What's that, like 5 steps?
That's great. And you went a transition kit. Thank you for that question. Another question that we have from Jessica. Jessica Jackson. I'm guessing, Jessica, are you here? Hi. She'll get a transition kit. What are some tips for, I'm going to do, because we did length already, retaining moisture? Because on this tour, a lot of girls were saying, I do my hair, and then on the second day, it's dry all over again. Third day, drier. So what are some tips for retaining moisture? Feel free to jump in.
I just want to say, and somebody else can give a tip for moisture, try to understand what dryness really is, because sometimes people who are transitioning and they're learning what their natural hair is, what they are perceiving to be dry is texture. It doesn't look shiny, so they think, oh, it's dry. But straight hair is always going to look shinier than textured hair because straight hair reflects the light differently. So if you think of straight hair like a sheet of glass, it's going to reflect the light differently. Textured hair, you have waves and curls and bends, so the light is kind of doing this. You don't have that smooth surface for the light to easily reflect off of. So you may not actually be dry. It might actually just be this new texture that you're not accustomed to. And if you do a porosity test with your hair where you put the hair in the water and see if it floats or if it sinks, it may give you an indication on whether or not you need more moisture or if the moisture level in your hair is good.
Can you just, because now I'm curious, when you said the porosity test, if it sinks or if it floats, what is that? Can you just...
When the hair floats to the top of the water,
Okay.
it's not holding on to the moisture.
Okay.
So the porosity is low. When it sinks into the glass, it's grabbing onto the moisture.
Okay.
And sometimes you have different porosity levels in different parts of your hair. So you might notice that one section, if you're blow drying it, it dries really fast.
Right.
Or if you're air drying, and then another section, it takes longer. So the porosity can be different. But for moisture, it's what is it, the LOC process, the liquid, the oil, and the cream. I mean, that, I didn't call it that because, I'm older than a lot of you social media people.
No.
And so I wasn't familiar with LOC, but that's exactly what I do every day. Some kind of water or leave-in, oil, my Minoy oil, and then cream. I use my hair milk. So that does help keep the moisture in the hair, and I can see the difference. But just don't be so quick to judge whether or not your hair is dry. So many women come to me and say, my hair is so dry, it's so dry. And I touch it and their hair is beautiful and soft and like spongy like cotton. And it's gorgeous and it's not dry at all. But
Because we're just not used to...
You're not used to how that feels.
Right. Okay. So I have a couple questions. Is there anybody here, if you want to, anybody have a question that they'd like to ask? I have some more, but I would like to be awesome. In the front with the braids. Please stand. Hi.
My name is Sydney.
Hi.
I'm transitioning and I was started to do like bantu knots and twist outs and stuff. And I was wondering like how do you go about putting it up at night? Because I would do the bantu knots, then I would put like a bonnet on it or whatever, and then wake up in the morning and they're just like gone. Like completely, like it was really bad. So then that's why I just did the protective style and put the braids in, because I couldn't, as far as like with my schedule and stuff, it's just I don't have the time to keep redoing. So how do you kind of like deal with that?
Well, I'm long natural, but I have the same problem with bantu knots. It's just a style that lends itself for a looser curl, so that just might not be a style that you may want to do if you don't want to have to redo it every night or every other night. Another thing is, do you still have relaxed ends? Your ends are still relaxed?
Just a little bit at the ends, but they don't really, they kind of just there. Like the rest of it, it's really nice, but then the ends is just like flat.
What type of product are you using to stop? Because what you might need is a product that's going to give you more hold. It may not even be nothing wrong with the style, but you might need a heavier product that's going to give you more hold. There's even some natural setting lotions that you can use, like you would use when you were relaxed to do like a roller set or something like that. So it may just be a product that's going to give you a little more hold so that the style lasts a little bit longer. And depending on how long your hair is, you may be able to do like what's called the pineapple method, where you sort of gather the hair up to the top of your head. So when you sleep, you're not like all up against it like this. It's all nicely tucked on top, and then you take it down in the morning, it just sort of falls into place. So those are a couple of things that might help your style last a little bit longer throughout the week.
Maintains the layers. If I don't get it trimmed, the top of my head grows weird and the bottom is curlier, and so I have to maintain the layers or else I end up with like a mushroom head. So I'm every 3 months.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
I just pretty much, it's usually about every 3 to 4 months, but I just go by how my hair feels on the ends. If it starts to feel, whenever I do my 2-strand twist, if it starts to feel a little scratchy and lifeless on the ends, a little fuzzy, then I know it's probably time for a trim, and I just go ahead and just take a little bit off.
Got it. Awesome. I have a question because this has been a question even my mom has called me to ask about co-wash. A lot of women are co-washing, but there's this thing about how often do I co-wash? Does co-wash replace my shampoo? What are your thoughts? Can you help us? Tell us a little bit about co-wash and how often it should be used, and is it replacing shampoo? I'm looking at you, Lisa. I just know I am, because I know you know. We want to know. And then it gets a little controversial because I know some people don't use shampoo at all.
Yeah.
Fran, we want to know why you don't.
And you actually don't have to use shampoo depending on how you're wearing your hair. Co-wash can take the place of your shampoo, but it doesn't have to. It can be a way to refresh your curls. Again, going back to that idea that Dr. Phoenix was saying, water being the best moisturizer. So we used to be told that if we put water in our hair every day that we were going to dry it out. Oh, you can't wet your hair every day because you're going to dry it out. You're going to dry it out. You're not going to dry it out. So if you need to wet your hair to get the curl pattern to be the way that you want it to be, you can go ahead and do that. And you can co-wash, washing with the conditioner, knowing that you're adding moisture to your hair. So you can do it every couple of days if that's what you need to do to maintain your look. But I suggest experimenting with it and being patient with it and trying it. The longest that I did without shampoo was 3.5 months.
Wow.
And my hair was fine. And the only reason that I had to shampoo it was because I was testing some formulas and my hair was like gunky. It felt like it had glue in it and the co-wash was just not cutting it. But before that, I was fine for 3.5 months without shampooing. So what I do now is maybe every month, month and a half, I'll shampoo if I have to. But other than that, I co-wash and condition.
Fran, about co-wash?
Well, I haven't shampooed my hair in 3 years.
Wow.
She's right?
3 years?
Yeah.
It smells great. Right here.
Right.
That would be gross if she was like, I know.
Right. I could tell.
Right. No, I haven't shampooed in years, but I do clarify it once a month, and it's not even on a schedule. I just, you know, when you put your product in and your hair doesn't really coil, it just doesn't take your product like it usually does. I listen to that, and when my hair is not responding, then I take apple cider vinegar and
that's how you
water.
clarify?
Yeah,
Okay.
apple cider vinegar and water, and just wash it out. There's a video on my channel.
Awesome. I have to shampoo my hair. I don't know what it is. It's like, I don't know if it's just that's how I feel. I have co-washed, and then I tried co-wash with baking soda to try to... I work out, and the first place I sweat, it's like I won't even sweat on my body. It's like my hair will be wet. So I just am I'm a shampoo girl. I like shampoo. And I'll co-wash sort of 3 days in. So, you know, if I'm washing my hair quite a bit, I won't shampoo it every 3 days, but I will use co-wash in between my shampoos. So that might be something you can try too. I saw you in the back with a question.